All right, what's up, guys? And this is the first of a series of videos in which I'm going to show how to make a really quick 3D game using Unity and then Adobe Fusion Mixed make some 3D models. In this video, my goal is to just show how to make a simple terrain, meaning like trees, landscape, textures, and all that. And then eventually, in each video, we'll work up to having playable characters, playable controllers, cameras, models, and all of that good stuff. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out and open up a new project in Unity. I'm going to make sure that my project is a 3D project. And then once I do that, there's going to be one thing that I need to download from the asset store, and that is the Unity standard assets. And this version of Unity, 2018.2, let's go ahead and name this 3D World Demo October 2019. In this version of Unity, it does not come with the standard assets. Older versions do, like 2017, but I'm going to show how to grab them from the asset store really quickly. The rollerball stuff that you see here from Unity's website, this is in class already. We've done a rollerball project where I showed how to make a rollerball game, really simple. So if you want to learn the bare basics of Unity, check out those official videos from Unity's own website. So Unity's kind of big. It takes a little while to install some assets. So I might press pause as I go to the asset store really quickly and download something called standard assets. So as it loads, as it loads the asset store, I'll see you in a second. All right, asset store is loaded. Sometimes it takes a little bit because it is a very big and cool thing. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to search for standard assets. I had already searched for it before, so it was in my menu. But searching for standard assets, it looks like this. I've already downloaded it, so it's grayed out. But if you have not downloaded it before, you'll have a download button right here. You got to download it, and then you got to import it to each individual product that you want to use it in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import, and it's going to give me a list of things that I'm able to import. For intents and purposes of this project, let's just go ahead and make sure everything's checked. I'm not going to use everything. So if you know exactly what you want, you can save some time with importing, because importing all these is going to take another minute or two. So I'll pause the video as I import, and I will see you in another minute or two once it is done importing. And we're done. Cool. That only took like 2 minutes. So if I jump back over to my scene, now down here in my assets folder, my project, I have these standard assets, which are just a bunch of cool pre-equipped things that let you plug and play into games. But before I do anything with that, I'm going to go ahead and right-click over here, and I'm going to make a new terrain, because that's the purpose of this video. So a terrain is an object, it's a 3D object in Unity, that lets me just create a bunch of texture and composition. Let's get into it. I'm going to move this because I need to see this menu over here. If I zoom in on my terrain, it is just a very, very large plane right now. But over here, with my terrain selected, I have some tools. I can raise, lower terrain. I can paint terrain just by grabbing different brushes here. If I click, it starts to raise the actual plane itself, which is kind of cool. Different brushes contain different textures. Like if I want it to be a little bit more rough, I could do stuff like that. I could decrease my brush size. I could decrease my brush opacity, which in this case, brush opacity kind of refers to how strong the brush is or how much is going to move at once. This paint height tool lets me kind of like take a sample height. I'm going to grab a circle brush real quick. And if I shift click on this little spot right here, I've got a target height, and now it's going to paint everything to be that height that I paint around. So we're getting some kind of like wonky lighting there. Big software, Unity takes a lot to load things. This blur tool right here, it looks like a blur tool in Photoshop, but it is the smooth button because it kind of blurs the height. So if I increase the opacity or strength there, it just smooths out things that I have already sculpted. The next important thing that we're going to look at that we actually needed the standard assets for is painting textures. So you are able to paint different images as textures onto your terrain. The standard assets comes with some basic textures for us, but you can download other textures from somewhere like textures.com. Now, we have no textures defined, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit textures, add texture. I get this window over here where I can select a texture. Now, the things I see in this window are all from Unity standard assets. I know what I'm looking for. I'm going to search for the word albedo, which is a kind of material or surface. And I have a few here like the grass hill albedo or the grass rocky or the mud rock. If I double click on the grass albedo, I'm going to add that, and now it covers my entire terrain with that texture. If I add another one really quickly, I'm going to once again search for albedo, because that gives me just textures that are meant to be used. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this grass rocky. It doesn't cover my texture with grass rocky, but now I can select that and I can paint with it. Again, I have brush size opacity here, but now I can start painting. As you can see, that area is starting to get more and more rocky. If I just increase the opacity all the way, or the target strength all the way, then boom, I start getting that rockier texture. So I'm able to completely like go in there and paint different textures. You can really start to play around with the world you build. With my level 1 students, I want you guys to just create something cool. It's easy to be weird. It's easy to be like, this doesn't make any sense. I think it's more important to be good. Because before we can get creative, I still believe that before you try to be crazy original, you should try to be good. I think it was Paul Rand that said that. But yeah, so the next thing, what's my time at? Whatever. The next thing, I can add some trees in here. Again, you're able to download 3D models of trees from Unity's Asset Store or from other websites. But if I go to Edit Trees here, I can add a tree. And Unity's standard assets, once again, I need to define this. Unity standards assets gives us some basic trees. So if I scroll down, there we go, like something like the broadleaf, or there's like a conifer in there somewhere. Yeah, let's grab this conifer. Let's add that. And now I can paint trees. There's some settings here like brush size, brush density, tree height. You can randomize it. You can give it a certain range for it. But if I just start clicking, might take a second to load there. There we go. I got some conifer trees. That's a lot of trees right then and there. So I could decrease the tree density by quite a bit. And now my character would probably be able to walk through those trees. Let's see here. What do I want to do next? If you saw, I kind of sculpted a space for some water to exist. Inside of Unity Standard Assets, if I go back down here, open up Standard Assets, there's a ton here. Eventually we'll look at some of these. But in Environment, there is some water. All of these will give you some notes to note, like these will not work in VR, so good to know. But if I open up the prefabs, in any of these folders in standard assets, we have things like models, scripts, shaders, textures, and prefabs. A prefab, like we could just drag in the model and cool, we got a model of water, but a prefab would have the scripts, the textures, and all of that built into one. So let's go ahead and open up our prefabs. I've got Water Pro Night, Water Pro Daytime. If I drag and drop this in there, now I've got some water. I can go ahead and use my expanding keys. I press R on the keyboard to scale it, W to move it, and if I zoom in, look at me, I got some water. It's going to conform to the area around it, so I probably want to put it pretty close to the ground, or depending on where my my water level is, I wouldn't want to have anything that would be higher than it because it's just how water works. You can change the way it reflects things. Water's really cool. So that's the basics of it. Let's, in our next video, take a look at 2 ways to add a playable character, or ways to start looking at how to play in these scenes. Thanks for watching.